How we doing, everybody? Tommy Gun Ricci here, Who-Bangin Sports Before You Bet. I got a couple quick games for tonight. I know it's getting out a little late, but, sometimes that's how it goes. I got one NHL for you, and I have, let me get this in focus. There we go. I got one NHL game for you, and I got two in college basketball. Let's go with NHL first. I like the Stars tonight against the Sharks, but I don't really like going over 150. This line was up to 170 and then got back down to 150. I still like the Stars. I don't really let lines, throw me off too much sometimes. Sometimes betting splits, you could look too much into them than you should. In my estimation, I know that's totally different than some other people, but that's why this game is so much fun. So many different ways to attack it. But what I did was I took the Stars team total over 3.5. I got it at plus 100 even money this morning at BetUS. I see it now at minus 105. I've seen it at minus 105 most of the day with most books. But I got a favorable line there at even money. Stars are 20-10 as a favorite. Sharks are 8-26 as a dog. Stars power play 27%, where the Sharks is 20%. Road favorites, a couple little ATS numbers that are a little bit interesting. I know how stats are. You take them, with a grain of salt. Sometimes you look again too much into them, but sometimes they hold up pretty good. And this year. And you know what? This stat was good last year too, so it's something that's been going on. Road favorites off a win, 94-48 this year, hitting at 66%, kind of like the Boston Bruins tonight. Road favorites and this is which is against the way I bet, but road favorites minus 150 to minus 200, 53-24 this year, 69%. Which to me that tells you got to look into the regulation bets in some of these high price games, and so be it if it goes into overtime. How often does that really going to happen? It's again, you can't argue with that stat. 69% this year, 53-24. There's nothing to sneeze about. Now, of course, those games you're losing at minus 200. In that 24 game thing, you got to realize that you're losing. Depending on how you bet. If you're betting 2 units to win one, which I don't do, I bet one to win a half. If I was going to do it minus 200, I risk. I don't. That's how I do it. I bet risk, but. Anyhow, you got to take that into consideration, as you know. Road favorites who were in the playoffs last year, or who missed the playoffs last year, they're hitting at 62%. So road favorites when they're, the road favorites when they're favorite, but they're a team who missed the playoffs last year. They are hitting at a 62% rate. So a couple little interesting numbers to keep in mind. But I like the Stars. They were off that win in Vegas, and I know some people look at that as a detriment, but they were off a 2-game losing streak, and then went to Vegas. And won a game, and a lot of teams leave Las Vegas, win a game, and don't do too well the next game. But I don't like the Sharks team. But again, taking that into consideration is why I laid a little bit off the money line. But I could see points scored. I wouldn't argue with you taking the 6 at minus 115 the total. But I'm going to stick with the Stars at team total over 3.5 at even. Then the two basketball games I got for you. One is UConn at Seton Hall. I love this under 136. I think it's a solid number. I think UConn might go back to their old ways and win a big game tonight. It could happen, but I want to see it happen because they've been in a slump. And it's been really the fast-paced teams beating them. I think it was, Marquette beat them, right? Xavier beat them. Yeah, Marquette and Xavier beat them. And they're fast-paced teams, and they're very good teams. This Big East is very good to begin with. And then St. John's ran them off the floor. I mean, they really beat them down. And not that St. John's is a better team than the UConn, and this stuff happens within conferences, but they did run them off the floor. So let's see UConn do that again. But as far as both teams are kind of average pace. Seton Hall, surprisingly, what I found surprising looking at stats is that, and that's how I look at stats. I look to try to see what I can find out of them. I don't like to just throw out all the numbers that a lot of us looked at anyhow. I think give a little bit of a better interpretation of them. But the way I looked at it was that Seton Hall, they get to the foul line, but they don't make the foul shots. They're not a great foul shooting team. Things like that really, help and under. That's for sure. UConn did give up 80 points in a couple of those games, like I said, and lost 4 out of 5. But I think tonight they're gonna at first to get back to their ways. I think their coach has them running in practice this week, and I think defense is the first call of duty in this game tonight. So, and Seton Hall don't run the ball that great. So, let's see what happens. I took a shot. Under 136 is the game I took. Another game I took was the over in the Arkansas-Missouri game. Missouri, has a suspect D, man. I mean, they let Southern Indiana put up 91 points against them. I was like, wow. And neither team is great neither team is a great 3-point shooting team, but they both run and they both are pretty good with the 2-point game. They're pretty good with that, and this over. Actually, this over was at 155 and went down to 153 and a half, but I took it at 153 and a half, minus 110. You know what? This is what I found interesting. Last time they played, let me see what game this was. Last time they played, the game was was in the 140s, and the game went under. There was 28 3-point shots missed in that game. If 5 of those 3-point shots are made, this game goes over. And really, it's sometimes it's simple as that. The arithmetic is simple as that. Are they going to shoot that bad again in 3-point? They're not great 3-point shooting teams, but 28 was missed. So that's something to take a look at. So I took the over 153 and a half. Sometimes you can't let these point spreads, like I said, sway you off a game. Perfect example was last night's Kansas State game. That game opened up a few points higher than I forget the exact numbers, but it opened up a few points higher than what I bet it at. The game dropped like 3 points. I think it was maybe 147, dropped down to 143 and a half. A big drop, and I was looking for injuries and looking for the reasons why. And that's a game I liked from the previous night, that over. So I just stuck with it. I'm not going to let a line sway me unless I can find a reason, like an injury or something like that. So sometimes, keep that in mind. Don't always, let the line sway you too much. Of course, keep it in mind. Of course, it means something, but it doesn't always mean the same, in every situation. So that's it. That's all I got to say for tonight. Before you bet, we will be back Friday night, 8 p.m. on Who-Bangin Sports. Myself, DJ Big Boss, Big Ragu 62. I'm sure Teese will be joining us. I'd like to get his take on the Philadelphia Eagles game. This NFL weekend is going to be good. I did throw a teaser in already. I threw in the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are live in this game. I'm not a fan of any of the teams playing this week, so that's not. I'm a lonely Jet fan, so I never have any problem in playoff games. That's for sure. Letting my heart dive into this, but I think the Cowboys are live and they could win outright. But I did tease them plus 9.5 with the Bengals plus 11. Bengals are another team I think are alive and might just win that game outright. I think that Bills emotion, it ran with them for 2 weeks. They didn't particularly play great these last 2 games they played. It seems like emotion got them over the hill. A couple of freak plays got them over that first game. 2 touchdowns run back. Keep that in mind. And the game that was canceled, the Bengals were looking good early in that game until the unfortunate accident happened. So I kind of like the Bengals. We'll have more to say about that on Friday night. But 8 p.m., Who-Bangin Sports. Give us a shout. I know it's a little bit late, but tonight is Wham Wednesday, and if you guys are listening to this, jump on to Wham. Also, Teese does his college basketball. He's good at basketball, and I'm not the greatest college basketball capper, only because I haven't really put the time in as much as I should. I usually start betting around 2 weeks before the tournament. This year, I started betting earlier, and I went on a decent run, so I've been sticking with it. But Teach is a big part of that. He helps me out in a lot of ways, and the approach I came from, it was a pure handicapping aspect, and he kind of showed me a couple little things that you should watch out for that you don't get burned with in college basketball. So anyhow, 3:45 every day during the week, Monday through Friday for sure. Tease college basketball first half specialist. So you keep that in mind. All right, guys, let me stop rambling. Let me stop gambling. And let me start get a little something to eat, a little something to smoke, and watch these games. A lot of good games on tonight. Marquette's on tonight. Oklahoma State. Florida. A lot of good games tonight. So it should be a good college basketball night. I will see you guys tomorrow. Tommy Gunn Ricci for Who-Bangin Sports. Have a good night.